Ricky, it feels so soon that we were just here last week recording episode 29 of Hobby Talk, a Cardboard podcast, but we are back on our regularly scheduled Thursday, and we are excited to bring you today's episode. But before we dive into any of our topics today, Ricky, good morning. How are you? And is there anything new that you want to kind of open up with?
Good morning. I'm good. It's nice to see episode 30. Wow, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, big
Um,
3-0. Nice, good whole number.
but yeah, I was hoping to be celebrating a World Series, Dodgers World Series win, but I guess save that for today.
Yeah, so hopefully it's crazy how just Dodgers weren't like blowing doors or anything. I guess we'll dive into a quick little World Series topic. I mean, we didn't even write that down. See, I knew we were gonna find something to talk about that we didn't even think about. Bless you, bless you.
Thank you.
But it's funny because like on paper, the Dodgers don't seem like that much of a better team than the Yankees. They're just playing better, and they're not winning in like crazy, like overachieving ways. They're just playing good baseball, and the Yankees aren't. And they did win game 4, the Yankees last night. So it's oh sorry, 2 nights ago now. And it's a little bit of it's good to see, I guess, that there's competition and that we're actually getting a series. I don't think that the Dodgers winning 4 games to 1 is much of a series, especially when that one win was in game 4. But I mean, hopefully the Dodgers can wrap it up in the Bronx, and maybe they can get a lot of Brooklyn Dodger fans to come out and celebrate in New York. That would be very delightful. But staying on the World Series, Ricky, I mean, we talk about this with football and basketball, how winning a championship means so much. It means so much for that pedigree and that resume. We've talked about it before. Doesn't really matter as much with the World Series in baseball. I mean, it's such a prospect rookie chase uh, niche baseball cards are.
Yeah.
Should and how or why or when will the World Series be meaningful in this hobby?
Um,
I know it's such a loaded question.
no, it's such a shouldn't be necessary question because it should have impact on the card market, but I don't know. Last night after Freddie Freeman hit his 6th home run in a row, not 6 home run in a row, but 6 straight games
Yeah, it
with the
was like
home run.
six
6 straight
straight
games with
World
the
Series. Yeah,
yeah.
dating back to his
But
Braves days.
yeah, after that home run, I was scrolling on Facebook and everyone was buying Freddie Freeman cards. So that was kind of cool to see. Not that because he's never really a popular name in the hobby, even though he's just consistently a great player. But yeah, it was nice to see people start selling and buying them.
It's It's funny because I feel like this time of year we get so caught up in the names. Like if Freddie Freeman was to hit 6 straight home runs in like the middle of June, I don't think people would care as much. I mean, it'd probably catch some wind in terms of like, Sports Center, ESPN, MLB Network, but like doing it in the World Series, 6 straight times in the World Series, again dating back 3 years, 4 years, whenever the Braves were in it. It's it's good to see because he's not a rookie. He's not a young guy. He's a veteran. He's been around. So it's good to kind of see a guy like him catch a little bit of market favorability here. I mean, how many times have maybe even you've had some rookie cards of great players? I mean, Freddie Freeman is one to come to mind, and they just don't sell. What
Right.
will it take for these guys to sell? Because they're not going to get called up. They're not going to win Rookie of the Year because they're already established guys. And that's why I kind of like this time of year for baseball specifically, because as great as Ellie De La Cruz is, he's not in the playoffs right now. As great as Jackson Holiday was when he got called back up, he was in the playoffs, but he's not anymore. So we're not talking about him. We're not focusing on him. We're focusing on the guys who are making an impact. I mean, even a few years ago when the Red Sox were in the ALCS against the Astros, Kike Hernandez was hitting like 700, and like
Hmm.
even some of his cards were kind of going crazy. So it just comes and goes in waves, and it's good to see again these veteran guys get a little bit of love this time of year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm, the people who have been hot all season in the car market, Otani and Judge, they're not doing anything.
Did Judge get like his first hit in the World Series last night? Isn't that just? I saw a stat, and you're right. It's good to see these other guys getting some attention. I saw a stat where Aaron Judge's 2024 playoff batting average is like 140. And I think I saw it was like Lou Gehrig in like 1943 with ALS was hitting like 143. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. The best player in baseball, the face of the league right now, or one of the faces of the league, is being outperformed by an old guy. Well, was outperformed by an old guy with ALS. That is just insane. That's an insane
That's crazy.
statistic.
That's
But
crazy.
yeah, it's hopefully the Dodgers have it wrapped up. I mean, it's been entertaining the playoffs, and through that entertainment, Ricky, would you say that it's given the baseball card market any juice, any life? Or once the playoffs are done, they're done. We're going to be all focused on football, and even during the playoffs, we just care about football.
Yeah, I mean, once the World Series is over, the people who have some interest in baseball are probably going to vanish until spring training next season. I mean, like we've said before, baseball is more of a collector's niche or whatever segment of the hobby. So whoever collects baseball is going to stay to baseball because now once the World Series is over, that's going to be the time to buy people. But
Yeah. Are people going to be buying like the World Series guys or the playoff guys? Or are they going to be just back to buying their prospects and their Bowman firsts and such?
who I'm going to be buying,
James Wood.
well, besides him, that's a given. But no, the people I'm going to be buying are the guys who I thought underperformed this year, who are due for. Oh, my cat wants to say hi.
Hello,
Uh,
Kitty.
no, the people who I'm going to be buying are the people who I think underperformed or didn't perform at all this year, who I think are going to be better this next year.
Do you
So,
care to share some names?
two names who I have been kind of are Julio Rodriguez and Ronald Acuna Jr.
Ooh. I think Acuna's a given one because he's an MVP kind of guy. I mean, Julio could be an MVP kind of guy, and he definitely did underperformed. So let me ask you this. He was all hyped up to oblivion. Everyone was all over him. Everyone was very excited for him. Then he struggled, then he bounced back, and then he struggled, and he bounced back. What happens to a guy like him? And we could say this probably about some other guys too. What happens to a guy like Julio if he doesn't bounce back and he does have a down season? Does the trajectory and the appeal of him trend downwards? I mean, I know we're already moving on to the next prospect. Who cares about Holiday? Who cares about Paul Skeens? Who's the next guy? That's the guy that we care about in the pipeline. But a guy like
Right.
Julio, who's not that far removed from it, Bobby Witt, Ellie De La Cruz, Holiday and Skeens, obviously more recently. But like these guys are so hyped up, Julio included, that we want them to play well, and they do play well, so we get all excited. But when they don't, and they put that poor play to a little bit of consistency, day in, day out, year in, year out. I mean, at what point do we kind of just call it quits for a guy who was so hyped up so recently? And we could dive into
Well,
the football aspect of it too, because I know we're going to kind of talk about that.
so here's the thing about Julio Rodriguez. He's still only 23 years old. Like he was in the same class as Bobby Witt Jr. in terms of rookie seasons, but and Bobby Witt Jr. He was playing good, but nothing crazy the last year or two. But then this season he blew up. Everyone was looking for him. He was in the MVP discussion, but that's going to Judge. So I mean, it takes a little bit. Gotta have patience. That's why I've been buying him because he's low. He's a great player. He's due for a breakout season, and I think the Mariners are are a good young team. They'll figure it out.
Patience nobody has in this hobby. Nobody has in this space. And I'm curious, I how is it in other hobbies? Like for instance, like comic books or action figures or video games. Like obviously you're not waiting for Iron Man and Superman to appreciate in value. They're also not going to go to jail either, so it's not going to depreciate. But like when the new Super Mario game comes out, oh, I gotta wait for him for his value to go up so I can sell it at a high. Like, I mean, I guess it's similar to Pokemon, but Pokemon sets and Pokemon cards come out more frequently than I would assume Iron Man comics. I have no idea how that works, but
Yeah.
I'm curious how much patience you may need in other spaces, other niches like that, because I I feel like this is like the one and only hobby where it's like you got to buy now to sell later. Oh, you got to sell now. You got to sell now because he's at his highest peak. Oh, I'm going to buy it because it's super low right now. Like are people I mean, I don't know if you have any answers to this, but I mean, oh, the new Deadpool movie just came out, so let's fire sell all our Deadpool comics. I
I
curious. I'm
mean,
curious how that works.
I have no idea, but like you said, like I mean, that could be a good example of buying when the new Deadpool movie comes out. People are looking for all the figurines or comics or whatever, but
Like that's
yeah,
probably the only thing I can think of that would generate some hype. Maybe a new release or a new story arc, excuse me, of a guy. I have no idea how that works. I guess people don't understand how Pokemon market works either. So I guess
I'm still trying to figure out the sports card market.
aren't we all? We are always figuring out the sports card market, and I kind of alluded to talk about football players as we just kind of wrapped up our baseball player conversation. Ricky, 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, when the 2021 NFL draft came and went, we had 5 first-round quarterbacks and Kyle Trask in the end of the second round,
Oh,
who had a very high ceiling, very high ceiling. All of them. Maybe not Trask, but he was drafted and he was behind Brady. So I mean, you could even argue that he had a high ceiling, learning behind the best. 3.5 years ago, Ricky, if I told you that none of them were going to be busts, would you believe me? Would you have believed me?
at that time, yeah,
Okay. Would you believe me if I said only one of them was going to be a bust?
I'd say it was possible.
How many of those 6 quarterbacks did you think in the moment on that Monday after the draft, did you think were actually going to pan out, be stars, not superstars, but stars, starters, capable, reliable, good quarterbacks? At the very least, like that's the bar at the very least.
At the very least, probably like half of them.
So out of the 6, you'd probably say 3, right?
Yeah,
So a lot of people thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be a given. People probably thought that Fields was going to be a given. And then you can kind of mix and match whoever that third one is. A lot of people don't even want Kyle Trask in this conversation, but I think he kind of deserves to be in there because he was good at Florida. And again, he was drafted behind Brady. So he was in a great position to learn. Well, Ricky, I know you kind of already know where I'm going with this because you've already seen it on my story. But for those that don't, I kind of want to bring up this beautiful, beautiful photo. I just got to pull it up here. So I saw this eating my morning breakfast. I saw this. Anthony Richardson is 22 years now. Of course, now we're mixing and matching other draft class. 22 years old and he's benched. Bryce Young is 23. Trey Lance is 24. Fields, Levis, Wilson are all 25. Mac Jones and Kenny Pickett are 26. And they are all benched. Now, back in that 2021, to answer my own question, Ricky, I thought 3 of them were going to suck. So I thought 3 were going to excel in this league, and I thought 3 of them were going to suck. Now, admittedly, I did not consider Kyle Trask back when I made that claim because I was focused on first round quarterbacks and he wasn't projected to be a first round quarterback. But I still think 3 of them could have played well. I didn't like Trey Lance. I didn't like Zach Wilson. So I was on the wagon of Lawrence, Fields, and Mac Jones. Now, we look at the current landscape of the quarterback market for sports cards, who are we buying? CJ Stroud? Sure. Jaden Daniels? Sure. Caleb Williams? Absolutely. But those two specifically have only a limited pool of cards to choose from, just because not all the products are out. Whereas a guy like CJ Stroud, all the 2023 stuff is already out, so you can buy whatever you want. But he has no licensed autos, so there's a little wrinkle there. How do we digest this information, Ricky, that the NFL has a quarterback development problem, which will directly affect the hobby because the hobby seemingly only cares about the quarterbacks? Now, if we were to pull up a list of running backs over the last 3-4 years, I bet that list would look pretty good. So, when the draft class next year rolls around with Shadur Sanders, Jalen Milroe, Quinn Ewers, whoever else, Carson Beck, people need to pause. Don't get all excited. Don't overreact, because some of their names might even be on this list. Break it down for me, Ricky.
I mean, sooner or later, people are gonna start learning, right? You would think that, like, you need to stop buying the hype unless you're flipping it right away. Like, unless you buy it one day and sell it the next hour. It's like this happens year in, year out. Because people have no patience. They want to see them blow up right after they buy them. So it's like, ugh. And then that word investment gets thrown around like a football.
I mean, you can even put Trevor Lawrence's name on this list because the Jags aren't doing that well this year. I mean, I know he got a big contract extension, but going into this year, him, Daniel Jones, you can even throw Daniel Jones on this list. I know that's going a little further back. And Mac Jones all had similar stats. I think it was last year. But I mean, looking just at this list, and you're throwing 2 former first overall picks on this list. Now, of course, this isn't a be all end all list. Of course, quarterbacks can bounce back. Look at Sam Darnold. Look at Baker Mayfield. Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson are just from the draft class before. Fields was actually playing pretty well until Russell Wilson came back. So, of course, there's going to be a little bit of caveats there. But when you're in the heat of the moment at a show or at a shop or at any kind of hobby event, no one's going to care that Justin Fields was it 4-2 or whatever before Russell Wilson came back, or whatever his record was, 3-3. No one's going to care about the fact that Trey Lance looked okay before he broke his leg, and then he hasn't had a chance since he broke his leg. No one's going to care that he's the Bryce Young's on the Carolina Panthers, which is the worst team in football, maybe next to the Patriots. So again, there is caveats, and there are little bit of things to kind of pick at this list. But overall, Ricky, I couldn't agree more with you, is that people overreact and people get excited for what? To be right about the next Joe Montana? Justin Herbert, I mean, constantly gets compared. But he's not Joe Montana.
Buy Joe Montana because he's so cheap.
Exactly. And like, I've said this comparison before, and I need to say it again just to drill it in people's heads. And I love it because Justin Herbert has $1 million sale. If I told you, Ricky, right now that I will sell you this card, or you could sell that card for $1 million, would you do it in a heartbeat? A Justin Herbert 1/1 RPA? Of course, because that's his ceiling. There's no possible way that Justin Herbert, and I'm not picking on Herbert, but there's no way that Herbert's value or ceiling will exceed $1 million. So why not just buy the guys who are solidified? How many quarterbacks in this league outside of Patrick Mahomes who has a legitimate shot at being one of, if not the best of all time? Because it is so hard to win 1 Super Bowl, 2, 3, 4, 5, not 6, not 7, not 8 Super Bowls. And it's just so aggravating because we get all hot and bothered over one, that if Hurts won that Super Bowl against the Chiefs, if Joe Burrow won that Super Bowl, if Brock Purdy won that Super Bowl, everyone would be, whoa, 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 ooh, yeah. Because they're young, they're good, they're exciting to watch. People want to be right about the market. So it is aggravating. And you got positions like I'm going on a rant here.
Oh,
Positions like the running back and wide receiver and tight end and defensive players all across the field that are good. Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, McCaffrey when he's healthy. Jamar Chase has little value right now. I don't know why he's having a great season. And then Aaron Donald, who just retired, arguably the best defensive player of our generation. Sauce Gardner, best cornerback right now, or one of the best cornerbacks. But nobody effing cares. Not a soul cares. And it is beyond aggravating. And I think it's because a lot of people will come into the shop, and I'm not trying to pin it on the customers. Oh, do you have any Anthony Richardson RPAs? Do you have any high end Justin Herbert? It's like, if I did, would you buy it? A and B,
right.
unless you like him because of who he is. Now, if you like Anthony Richardson or Justin Herbert because you're a fan, that's fine. That has nothing to do with this. But if you're buying it for that investment, then maybe you should possibly look at other investments, because we all know that sports cards as an investment, individual players, is not an investment. It's a flip unless you plan on keeping it for a year. But if you were to buy it for $100, what are the chances it's $100 or more this time next year? Ricky, I'm done.
No, it's yeah, it's definitely frustrating because people don't listen. I'm still learning. I'm still figuring all this out, but people genuinely have no idea what they're doing. Including me. Sometimes I get caught up in the hype. Oh, bless you. Yeah.
Had to blow my nose. Sorry.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I'll get caught up in the hype. Not, uh, I don't know, man.
I
I
can keep
really
going,
don't.
Ricky. I could keep effing going.
Keep going. Keep going.
Oh, it's so aggravating because any of these guys, let's just say Trey Lance fills in for Dak Prescott this week, and he looks good. Do you know who's going to be selling on eBay through the nose? Not going to be one little sale, or not a collector, a Cowboys fan or a North Dakota State fan buying these cards up. No, no, no. They're going to be the flippers or the investors buying these cards up,
Well,
because we all know the backup quarterback market is insane. If there's a backup quarterback's one of one or patch auto or rookie patch auto out there, go buy it, because that is the stuff that is the investment right there. You buy it for $3 and you sell it for $300, because a guy like Trey Lance is going to fill in halfway through the third quarter. He's going to have a bad drive, but that fourth quarter, he's going to look like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning out there, and he's going to lead the team to win. And then you know what we're going to be hearing on ESPN and Sports Center and all these damn things and seeing all these sales on eBay is that Trey Lance card selling out of his, I'm not going to swear. and that's what everyone's going to be asking for, because come Monday, someone's going to be coming to his shop, or over the weekend, someone's going to be coming to the show. Hey, do you have any Trey Lance cards? Whereas this time, 3 days ago, no one's looking for a damn Trey Lance card. I'm not trying to pick on Trey Lance, but still, we could do this with Zach Wilson. We could do this with anybody on this list, or the list is over here for me. We could do this anybody on this list, except for maybe Anthony Richardson, who is supposed to be the starter, Bryce Young, who's supposed to be the starter. All these other guys are backups. Oh, we saw it last year. We saw it last year with Josh Dobbs, who had a great season
oh my
last year
god.
filling in.
Yeah.
Who the hell wants Josh Dobbs cards now? Who wanted them in the beginning of August last year before he filled in for Kyler Murray, and then before he got traded to Minnesota? Nobody. Talk about the hype. It is all hype based. This whole hobby is hype based. Collect what you like. Honestly, that's why a lot of people go into Pokemon, because there's no hype besides cool artwork. But the majority of people can agree that that card, whatever card that is just simply a cool card. There's no hype. There's no performance aspect of it. There's no buy now, sell later aspect of it, because people buy it because they like it. No one's buying Josh Dobbs, Trey Lance, or effing whoever else because they like them. No, they're buying them because they want to flip them. Whereas you don't see that as much with Pokemon and other TCG for that matter too. I mean, you're starting to see a lot of people kind of get into One Piece and Lorcana a little bit, and they kind of fall into the boat too. But oh my gosh, Ricky, Somebody, one of these quarterbacks is going to fill in. Well, I mean, again, Young and Richardson are supposed to be starters, but Young's going to be starting, right? Or Zach Wilson's going to get a start, and they're going to lead his team, and everybody's going to be wanting to buy their cards. It is going to blow my. But then again, you have a guy like Bijan Robinson. I'll just use him for an example, or Kyron Williams, who scores 2 touchdowns, 100 rushing yards, maybe 150 scrimmage yards. And how many people are buying those guys? Nobody. Even though they're bona fide stars in this league. Oh, I need water. I did not that just boiled my blood. I did not expect to do that this morning.
I got you going. I got the juices flowing.
Oh my god. Tell me about it.
That watch the first customer that comes in today. Do you have any?
Do you have any Joe Milton card? Oh, okay, no, I can't say that because he's local. I can't even think. Do you have any Joe Flacco cards starting this week? I think it's a good buy. It's a good investment. Oh, Jameis Winston, that's another one. I mean that just more recently happened.
Yeah, I mean this is why I have a nice Trey Lance sitting on my eBay page right now. Trey Lance RPA, just sitting there with a high price tag because I know that day is going to come.
See if I can find it
On my eBay.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up.
I'm curious what this price tag is. Whatever. I type in Ricky Ray, it didn't come up. I hate like searching for users on eBay. It's such a pain in the butt. I mean, for anybody that's watching this, throw your comments down below. Like, I mean, are these guys really worth buying? Again, Richardson and Young, I think, are a little too early to tell and judge just yet because 1 year in, they showed promise. The teams that they're on may not be the best. Well, I mean, at least in Bryce Young's case, may not be the best. But like, there's high draft picks. They're supposed to play well, and I think this is why the Wemby market is so like exciting to watch. I know this is completely apples and oranges here, or friggin' like apples and watermelons here, but we put so much hype on these young guys, Wemby included, and they don't pan out and they don't live up to expectation. But a guy like Wemby, he is living to expectation. Oh, I found it.
But his card market is just so watered down.
So that's a good question to ask because I know we talked about this when we talked about the Topps Mercury thing, where I mean the argument's made that he didn't have any rookie autos or RPAs throughout the course of the year, and so Topps has kind of given them to us with Topps Chrome. The Mercury set, obviously you have them with Bowman, but they're not rookie cards, so to speak. Do you think the autograph market's watered down of his, or just the card market in general? Because if the card market in general, then we could say this about everybody because they all have the same pool. I mean, with the exception of like some case hits here and there. But when it comes to the autograph market, I wish we got them during the season instead of in the middle of September when the 24-25 season is starting and we're trying to get excited over the next guys. But I mean, Wemby staying the talk of town and everybody just wants Wemby. It is from that perspective, it feels watered down because nobody wants a guy like Brandon Miller or I can't even think of anybody, or the Thompson brothers, if they can kind of catch some wind, or more recently like Jalen Green and Paulo Banchero. Oh, people have forgotten about Chet Holmgren already. I mean, who the hell is he now? No one cares about Chet Holmgren anymore. But yeah. So is it a Wemby thing or is it like I guess a Topps Fanatics thing because they make the cards?
I just think that the amount of rookies cards that this guy has between both Tops and Panini is just legitimately insane. Like,
I completely agree.
even if he wins 3-4 championships, I just don't see how his prices could go up that much higher. Just because there's so many of it out there. It's not impossible to find Victor Wembanyama PSA 10 rookies. It's not going to be hard to, once his veteran autos come out with the license, those might be worth more than the rookie autos.
Yeah, but it's not a rookie, Ricky. We only care about rookies.
But
I want a rookie Charizard.
Rookie Charizard.
I want an RPA Charizard. Yeah, one more thing about that. I mean, again, I keep saying that we put all this hype on Wemby and he's living up to it. And you make a great point. He wins 3-4 championships. He's not Jordan. He's not Bill Russell. So it's like, I mean, that's like the standard. I mean, if winning one title elevates somebody, like for instance, this like when Giannis won his title a few years ago, like that really elevated Giannis to be that guy, to be the next best player in this league, even though he was just about there. But winning that title really threw him over the top. But before he won, I mean, granted, we were in a different time period in a different hobby back then, but people weren't going crazy over him like they are now. We look at more recently, Tatum and Brown, they just won their title. No one really cares about them winning a title. I mean, of course, things have kind of simmered down a little bit, but now that they're champions and finals MVPs, the excitement's a little gone. I mean, we look at Patrick Mahomes almost a year ago winning his third Super Bowl. He's doing what we want him to do and win, but his market isn't translating. I mean, the prices for a 3-time Super Bowl winner in Patrick Mahomes was the same for when he became a 2-time Super Bowl winner. So if Wemby wins 3 or 4, I mean, his price is so high. Again, it goes back to the Herbert conversation that I mentioned earlier. Herbert had $1 million sale, and of course that card's not worth $1 million. But let's just say hypothetically it still was. You know, even if it was, even if it isn't, which it isn't, but even if it's not, what is one? I know, right? I'm all over the place. What's one Super Bowl for Justin Herbert going to do? It's not going to make it $1 million card again. We still know that he's not the best quarterback in the league because that's going to be Mahomes. He's not a rookie. So, because we're already going to be moving on to Shadur Sanders and Jalen Milroe and those guys coming out. So, like, when we look at a guy like Wemby, he's not going to be Jordan. He's not LeBron. He's never going to have 11 like Bill Russell. And his market is so high. So, even if he wins just one, let alone 3 or 4, how much room is there for it to grow when we just saw everyone who's anointing Mahomes as the GOAT go from 2 to 3 and it did nothing? Right. Tatum's a top 5 player and he went from 0 to 1 and it did nothing. So
you know what's crazy
is
about
winning
that,
is winning less important now? Is it just hype? Just timing it and winning's less important? I'm sorry, what did you say?
No, I was gonna say, during that championship run, Luka's prices were higher, even though they were losing, than Tatum's did.
I mean, we've talked about this so many times, Ricky. How does Luka? Luka's a great player. We're not going to argue about that. Tatum's a great player. Nothing to argue. And listen, if Luka was able to beat the Celtics last year, I think that's a feat worth getting hyped up about. But when Luka himself wasn't playing that good, he didn't look like Luka Doncic. He wasn't playing any defense. It's just like, why is his card now? Listen, if it was like 2-2 going back to game 5, okay, yeah, sure. Let's jack up Luka's value because he could do it. You win game 5 and you got 2 shots to beat the Celtics. Okay, that makes sense. But when you're down 3 games to 1 or 2 games to 1 or whatever the hell the biggest margin was, I don't get it. I never will. Ricky, I never will. We should change this hobby talk. Inconsistency, never understanding a cardboard podcast.
Trying to understand the hobby.
God damn. Back to baseball? Question mark.
Yeah, let's go back to baseball.
Maybe something we can kind of just sink our teeth into a little bit more calmly. Oh, I need to turn this monitor on.
That's more.
Ricky, so you sent me the link for the MLB patch debuts for Topps update, right? No, Topps Chrome update, excuse me.
Tough from out there. Yeah.
And of course, you've already looked at it because you sent it to me. But there's 251 players in the checklist for the MLB debut patches. Now, just in a vacuum, that seems like a lot of players to have debuted, but I mean, people get called up all the time, and whenever you make your first game or your first appearance, you wear a little patch. So, I mean, kind of does. I mean, it doesn't seem like that much, but it also does at the same time. I mean, oh Jesus, there we go. Is this like some? I mean, I know this is a new thing. This is what, year 2 of this now. It blew up
Yeah.
yet last year. Is this still something that people can get excited about and like worth investing in, worth buying? Because they're not Bowman firsts. They're not like true rookie cards because that's what people just care about. And I know I'm like very, very blunt and very harsh with the terminology that I'm using today. And if anybody gets offended, I do apologize. But it's just that's just the nature of it when people hype things up to oblivion. But speaking of hype, does this warrant any hype? I mean, it is hyped up, but is this warrant the hype? Is it something that's going to be really cool long term? What are your kind of thoughts about it? I know we already kind of mentioned James Woods on it, and it's a little sad, but I mean, there are some good names on here.
No, because last year when it first came out, the big name was Anthony Volpe. You know, I think it was David Adams who put a 250,000 bounty on it. And before yesterday, it wasn't really worth it. But since he hit that grand slam, he might be all hyped up now. But
Best
no,
shortstop in Yankees history after that grand slam.
well, yeah, the other one was just average. But no, I was scrolling through the checklist, and some of these names, I think this is going to be a big product this year.
There's so
Just
many
look,
guys that like aren't even like made their debut this year. Like Henry Davis, I saw David Hamilton, Ellie De La Cruz was on here.
yeah,
Caminero made his debut last year. Dominguez made his debut last year. I mean, the list is loaded. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I guess it really
Jackson
doesn't matter when
Chourio,
I guess it doesn't really matter when the card gets produced because I'm sure it's going to be time stamped with the debut.
yeah,
But it would have been nice to get Ellie De La Cruz, who got called up in May of 2023, who's been on the cover of a couple of products now, to have gotten it the year that he debuted. Now, if you make your debut the last week of September, I totally get it. But no, I just would have. I mean, I guess that's just me personally. I guess it really doesn't matter when it's time stamped like that. They'll tell you like, hey, Calvin Kakara's wore this patch June 14th, 2024, and made his
yeah.
debut. So I guess it really doesn't matter. But no, the list is loaded. I completely agree with you. Will this diminish actual? I mean, I'd say it is, but would this be diminishing rookie cards or other low numbered inserts like, you know, red to 5, gold to 50? Because no matter what patches or autos or inserts that we get, A, they're probably not game worn like the patches, and
Mm-hmm.
B, they're not going to be one of one unless you actually pull a 101, like these are.
No, I personally I like these MLB debut patch cards a lot. I think it's a cool concept. It is. It is unfortunately another money grab, but it's still cool because I feel like that is the chase card. Like that's going to be the chase card for any of these guys, probably. I think.
Yeah, like I said, it's time stamped here. This is the Volpe we kind of alluded to. Good, crisp, clean autograph. I like how the patch space is molded to fit the debut actual patch. It's not just like a rectangular box, and then they just
Yeah,
kind of slapped it in there. Um, so that is kind of reassuring. Oh, I just had an issue with the audio. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Um, and so yeah, I mean, it's good that they put it in like a not a flagship product, but a very accessible product. Like it's not in like Dynasty, it's not in Sterling, it's not in these higher end brand boxes. You know, their
Mhm.
version of Flawless and such. So I mean, you can go to the store. I mean, what on the other link it said. Hold on, I'll get back there.
Yeah,
It's one in every 28,000 hobby boxes, one in every 5,000 jumbos. I mean, look at it. The Breaker Delight has better odds than the jumbo than the hobby. And at least yeah, you can get them out of the mega boxes too. So I mean,
so we know who's going to be pulling the big names.
we should start um, a bookie to determine what breakers, set some odds and lines of what breakers are going to pull the top cards. Like we could probably go through this list. I mean, I'd have to double check, go through with a fine tooth comb. But I saw Jackson Holiday on here. I saw Ellie De La Cruz. Like those two have to be the top guy. Jason Dominguez is on here.
Paul
Just
Skeens.
is he
Paul
on here
Skeens.
too?
Yep.
Paul Skeens right there. So I mean, those are easily 4 or 5 top guys right there. Um, and we should definitely take some odds. Like, all right, Backyard Breaks is going to pull the Paul Skeens. We got the line at -110. Let's start taking bets. Leighton's going to pull the Jackson Holiday. That's at like -115, and just kind of go from there with it. I think it'd be a good money grab, honestly. Wyatt Langford's the top one too.
Yeah, you
I mean,
got
yeah, no, this
Yamamoto.
Yamamoto. I mean, it's definitely loaded for sure. No,
Yeah,
I do think that the cards are just simply cool. I mean, I
yeah.
agree with
No,
you. I think the design of them is awesome.
I love them. I think they're really cool.
Now, do you think they'll change this, tweak it so often? They could not touch this for 10 years, and I think it'd be totally fine because every player's they're gonna have a new checklist every year for
Oh
players,
yeah, exactly.
and it like looks like it's supposed to be a collectible. It looks like it's supposed to be something expensive. It looks like it's supposed to be something nice, not like a chintzy base card, so to speak.
Yeah, no, it's not like a RPA with a napkin patch or anything like that. Game worn.
No.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot, actually.
I mean, I was a little hesitant on the idea of the debut patches when they first came out. When they started them last year, I just kind of thought it was corny, and especially because it's just like a little sticker. They literally just tap
Yeah,
it on and they just peel it off. I
right.
think
Yeah,
that was kind of lame. But I mean, if it stays on during the whole game and it doesn't fall off, and they're game worn clearly, uh, yeah, I mean, it's just another way to connect us to the hobby. And if they can keep giving us that, collectors, Ricky, I don't know if we remember who they are, but they
yeah.
are out there like an endangered species. Collectors will like this for their collection. Ricky and I can talk about what a collection is and what a collector is actually a little bit if we need to cover that topic. But also for your hype beast flippers, sellers, breakers, which everyone's well aware of who they are. But I mean, no, I mean, the more I look at, I mean, here's the Volpe one. You can kind of see it's right there. It's right there. All right. Anyways,
Oh, it's on that
that's fun.
rookie card too.
That was fun. Okay. I guess we only got one more topic to talk about. It's like setting up at shows, so to speak. So yeah, I'm setting up at a couple shows. I got the Shriner show in Wilmington, Mass. Which I don't know if you've been there, Ricky, or not. It's a vintage heavy show, but it's just outside of Boston. That's this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then I got the Mohegan show the weekend before Thanksgiving. So 2 big shows in 1 month. Very excited for that. I was actually driving into the shop today, Ricky, and I was like, I wanted to ask you a card show question. I wanted to ask you, and again, this might be a loaded question, but we ask the tough questions here on Hobby Talk. Besides size, attendance and the amount of vendors, what's the biggest difference? And does it matter that much between the biggest show, and a small local VFW show? Like,
Size.
besides size and attendance, like, okay, for
I
example, I guess I'll answer my own question to kind of. Oh, okay, go ahead.
No, I think the biggest difference is that like you go to one of these shows, local shows that are held like every month or whatever, you're more than likely going to see the same dealers, same inventory. Not, I'm not trying to, knock on the knock on those guys because, hey, I used to go to them every month, even if it was the same people. But after a while, it does kind of get like repetitive. You do trying to kind of start looking for other shows to go to or something like that. Whereas like these bigger shows, like the EC3 Con, National, I don't know how Dallas is, but whatever. But
Well, you've been there.
yeah, I've been there once. It was cool. I don't know if like it's the same people every year, but anyways. Oh yeah, you're more than likely going to see something new. You're going to see new people, and I just think each show is a different experience.
I I constantly run into people from as a vendor. I mean, you know me, I like to talk, I like to get to know people a little bit. And through conversation, I find out that a lot of people's first show is is sometimes these bigger shows. And I'm like,
Yeah,
wow, that's pretty bold of you. Very adventurous of you. And listen, I give them all the credit in the world. But like I feel like if you go to these big shows first, anything less than that's going to be a disappointment. Like if the National is your first ever show, you go to a VFW show, you might find a couple deals, but you walk in the room, you're going to be like, this sucks. Where's all the vendors? Where's the music? Where's the breakers? Where's the whatnotters? And
where's the famous autograph people?
yeah, where's the cameras? Where the hype? And I feel like the two shows serve different purposes. I think your big shows are for your flipping and such, whereas your local shows are more for your collectors. And I don't think anyone would disagree with that because I think it's true. Because I do think that there's a lot of the same stale inventory at a lot of these local shows, whether you're set up and you have the same stuff or you're walking around and you see the same stuff. Because we both have stale and expired inventory that we can't seemingly give away. But like if we were to go set up at a show this weekend, we're probably going to take it with us because we're hopefully going to put eyes on it in person. Hopefully, a new crowd of people will look at it and want to buy it. I mean, that's my plan at least. And I'm sure if you were to set up at a show this weekend, I'm sure you would do the same thing. So though there's differences between the two shows, I mean, I know I kind of said not size, not vendors and stuff like that, but the inventory thing I think is definitely the biggest one because you go to these big shows, you're going to see the big cards. You go to a local VFW show, a little 35 table show, you might see one big card that's worth more than $1,000. Well, what are the chances it's going to sell?
Right.
Probably not. Probably not. But no, I mean, shows are a great thing for the hobby. I mean, I constantly tell people to go there to sell stuff if they're looking to sell stuff, looking to trade or buy or whatever. And yeah, I mean, it's. Would you say setting up at a show is stressful, or going more stressful, or walking around looking to sell, looking to buy stuff more stressful? I guess it's its own different stresses, but like two different mindsets at the same time.
Uh, I'd say I'd say at walking the show as a buyer is kind of a little more stressful because I feel like it's harder to find deals than it is to give deals, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Because if you're selling and you're selling the card, you know what you want for it. You can, you know, haggle the price or whatever, negotiate more. But if you're there buying, you're at the mercy of the sellers. So if they don't want to sell you the card for a price, they're not going to sell it to you.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. I mean, they're both completely different. This is definitely something that we can even talk about more. You know, maybe the closer we get to the national yet again, which is seemingly only 7 months away. I mean, counting October being over, 7 months away, Ricky. WTF? Yeah, right. And I know I just started the new card show podcast. I definitely want to have you on, Ricky, as we get. How much different is it really going to be from Hobby Talk? Who knows? But as we get closer and closer and closer to the national, because I'm assuming you're going to be going with it being in your backyard, as you should. If you don't, that's a shame on you. To talk more about strategies and stuff, because we're both going to be going buying. I mean, you're probably going to look to sell, maybe trade, where I'm just going to be buying. So I want to get your opinion about it, because not everyone goes to the national, specifically around here. So, I mean, if I can get you on and talk about the national and stuff like that, that'd be fantastic. I think that'd be a great thing to kind of discuss the closer and closer we get to it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. I did get this email. This is gonna be our last thing that we're going to talk about. We can wrap it up. We're almost at an hour. I got this email, I think yesterday, but I was off yesterday, so I didn't really look into it. And I can only show so much of it because I don't know how much I'm supposed to show. Stand by. Got to find the picture. I took a screenshot of it. Oh, here we go. Perfect. So this is very, very generic picture here. Wait, have you heard about this?
No.
But you can see where it's going.
Yes.
They have top loaders. They got one touches. These are just the penny sleeves. Is this a takeover? Is this a monopoly? Or is this just a simply good business idea? You know, we may not like it, but do we just have to chalk it up as a good business idea? I mean, I don't care. I could really care less if they do it. But I mean, you had a strong reaction to it, so I kind of want to hear why.
That's just them trying to control another aspect of the hobby.
So you are not a fan of this?
I mean, if at the end of the day, if it's cheaper for us, then I'm all for it. Unfortunately, but yeah, that's just them trying to take over other supply businesses. Like they're taking over the breakers.
Well, honestly, anyone can take over that. I could care less about the breakers.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, screw it. But
can you see? Oh, perfect. You can see that. So here's some top loaders as well. Yeah, no, it's. I mean, it's funny because everyone just wants Ultra Pro because it's the name brand. Even though there's like other brands out there that do just as good, if not a better job. Like I sell Ultimate Guard here, which a lot of gamers will know their gaming sleeves, but they also have penny sleeves. They also have your bags and your one touches and your top loaders as well. Again, Ultra Pro is a big name, and I feel like Ultra Pro is kind of like the PSA of the grading, whereas like that's just the generic name you just kind of toss out there. Whereas Fanatics, obviously being big with the cards now, I don't mind them bringing another element of competition to the space. I mean, Panini's not going to be able to bring an element of competition to the card space once Topps gets all the licenses and stuff. I mean, we could hope that Beckett or SGC or whoever can combat PSA as the competitor in that space. So from a business decision, I think it's a great idea for Fanatics to combat Ultra Pro. Also, for them taking over the licenses and stuff, hey, we want you to open our product with our supplies. Makes sense. But I do kind of agree with you, Ricky. I think it's like kind of a money grab. I think they're trying to kind of control the space a little bit. Now, if they do it correctly, I don't think anyone's going to have a problem. But that one time that we have a problem, just like with Panini, people are never going to shut up about it, as they shouldn't. because Panini, a lot of people don't remember because a lot of people are just brand new into this hobby, but people back, Panini back in the day was actually pretty good. They gave us Prism. They introduced Select back then. I mean, they were a pretty good trading card manufacturer. And then something changed. Something shifted. Leading up to COVID, they kind of got a little meh, into COVID, meh, and obviously now we know that they're absolute garbage. Hopefully that doesn't happen with Fanatics. But I got this email, so I just kind of want to share about it since it is hobby relevant. We're going to be seeing these on the shelves very shortly. And you had a very strong reaction to it. That was funny. Like, oh no. Oh.
It's
But
just like it's another thing. It's just another thing.
What's next? They print the cards, they sell the cards, they break the cards, they protect the cards.
Don't they have a little grading going on too?
I know Tops and SGC kind of do their own thing, but I haven't seen any of those like Wombo combo deals with like Tops Chrome or Tops Update Series, kind of like the $9 special that they did last year. I don't know if that has anything to do with collectors buying SGC who owns PSA out. I have no idea if there's anything there, any dirt in the water there. But I mean, would you be surprised, Ricky? Honestly, would you be surprised? FGC, Fanatics Grading Company.
No,
Fanatics, FCG, Fanatics Card Grading.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that, or if they bought Beckett.
And I honestly thought before collectors bought SGC, I did think Fanatics was going to buy SGC just because of the whole Tops Bowman kind of wheeling and dealing that they had on. But that's a good point. Beckett is a little struggling a little bit. What would bring a little bit of juice back into Beckett if they get bought out by the biggest company right now in the hobby? And the next thing you know, you got dealing specials with Beckett and Tops produced cards or Fanatics produced cards to kind of incentivize people to grade with Beckett. Therefore, it brings them back to the forefront. Good idea, Ricky. Very, very good idea.
Yeah, let me go tell Ruben.
You should message him. I heard he's responsive on like social media. Yeah. I don't know how true that is. But Ricky, let's wrap up today's episode. We are about to hit the hour mark. Definitely appreciate everybody for making it to this point in the episode. Ricky, we even said that we were going to talk about a bunch of different stuff that we didn't have on the slate today. That's just kind of how it always goes when we just free flow these episodes. But as we conclude today's episode, Ricky, what are your outgoing takes?
Still behind James Wood, but no, you got to stop falling for the hype. One thing you have to realize is these people who are selling you the hype, the people who are telling you buy this person, they're the people who are trying to sell those guys. They're not going to tell you to buy someone if they're not selling it.
You sound like an influencer.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm talking about. These influencers who just they build a hype so they can sell it.
Yeah.
It's like I was saying before, no one is going to be buying Will Levis come week 4. But they were telling you all preseason, buy him, because the cards to sell him. So once people realize that's how it goes, then hopefully we'll see some changes, but I doubt it.
I mean, I think the hype is kind of what brings a little bit of excitement. Excuse me, I'm starting to hiccup here. And a little bit of excitement and like juice into the hobby. I mean, everybody wants to be right about the next guy. But again, let's say we buy Will Levis, right? What are we buying him hoping he's going to do? Win a couple games, throw a few touchdowns, make it to the playoffs. I mean, again, look, I think T-Law is the best example. Pound for pound, T-Law is better. During the draft process, T-Law is better. T-Law has been in the league now for a handful of seasons. He has made the playoffs. He went toe-to-toe with Mahomes. Though he lost, he had a 28-point comeback the game before. So if we can't get that out of the best generational prospect since Peyton Manning in Trevor Lawrence, who I'm about to write off, not yet, but I'm about to, and put him in the bust category. then what are we going to get with a guy like Will Levis or a guy like Zach Wilson back then? I mean, I guess he was the second overall pick, though he shouldn't have been. But I see your point, Ricky. They're telling you who to buy because they want to sell it to you. Just like with the grading, in my point of view, is people grade with PSA because they're told to grade with PSA, not because people want to grade with PSA. And I think there's a huge difference there that people do need to understand, which oftentimes they kind of forget to understand, to fault their own or no fault to their own. But no, that's an excellent outgoing take, Ricky. Definitely circling back to our conversation earlier, because when we sit here and record 2 weeks from now, we're probably going to be talking about some backup who got thrown into it. Everyone's buying their cards, or something.
Like,
Or a guy like Bryce Young's gonna, who's starting now, he's gonna light the world on fire. I mean, I'm hoping, but let's, argument's sake, he does, unbiasedly. And oh, do you have any Bryce Young cards? Oh, I knew he could do it. I was right about him all along. I told you to buy him. Now look, I'm selling him. Blah 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 blah. But my outgoing take. I didn't even really think of it. I didn't have one planned. Buy what you like. I mean, I know we didn't talk about Pokemon today, but a lot of people are buying Pokemon cards because they like them. And I wish people would do that with sports cards. Of course, there's people out there that like sports cards and they buy sports cards because they just like the player, the team, or the design, or whatever. But how many of those people are there compared to how many people of Pokemon? And how many people buy sports cards in general compared to how many people buy Pokemon cards? I don't know what the percentage is, but like, how many people who collect sports cards, how many people collect Pokemon cards? Let's just say it's 50-50. It's got to be damn close.
right.
But how many of those 50-50 buy one or the other because they just simply like it? Pokemon's through the roof, sports cards in the ground. So I'd like to see people just buy cards. Don't worry about the price tag. If you can afford it, just buy the damn card for $20, $10, $100, $1,000, whatever your budget is, doesn't matter. Buy it because you like it. That's what people are doing with Pokemon cards, because they like the chart. They like the Pokemon. They like Charizard, whoever. They like the artwork, the alt art, the SAR, whatever we're on now. People just like the card for the card. And I'd like to see that kind of, bleed into sports cards more than it barely is. That's my outgoing take, Ricky.
Couldn't agree more.
All right. We had a wild episode, Ricky. For sure. But thank you. I'm just trying to gather my thoughts to do this damn outro. Do you have anything else you want to add before we kind of wrap it up? All right. Well, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Smash all the buttons, like, comment, subscribe. Ricky, I will see you for episode 31. We're going to go to an odd number instead of this nice, beautiful, nice 30. But thank you as always. And we will both see you in the next episode of Hobby Talk. But between now and then, we love you all. See you guys.
All right. See ya.